Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 32nd Mission Smile webinar. Today, we are going to cover a company. When I say we, basically me and my team member Shivam Shah will together cover the company UFO Moviez India Limited. And as we have kept the title of the topic today, Beyond the Screens into the Stock Scene. So we'll try to go beyond the screens and try to understand what has happened to the stock. Before we deep dive, I'll just give you one number. So this company came up with an IPO in 2015 and they raised 600 crores. If I'm not wrong, 100% of it was 100% OFS only. They didn't bring in any funds to the company. That was the balance sheet situation in the company, that they didn't need any funds at that time. And the business was doing phenomenally well, so that they could raise 600 crores from the market during the IPO. And today the whole company is available at less than 600 crores. So of course, there are some good reasons why it has gone down. However, the only reason for we presenting this company is that we believe that this could be a good business to track at this juncture. Probably they are at an inflection point, and we'll cover everything in the subsequent slides. Okay, so let's begin. Standard disclosure, at this juncture, we don't have any recommendation or any position in the stock. We have not received any compensation from the management to do this presentation. And as always, Mission Smile webinars are never an offer to sell or buy any securities. Rather, it is more of a educational session where we collaboratively discuss about the pluses and the minuses of the businesses, right? So we all are familiar with this ad, which we all have seen in cinema halls. There are different types of ads which we have seen, and we have just taken one such ad of not having cigarettes or the ill effects of smoking cigarettes, right? Now, we all see those ads. We all see PVRs and other multiplexes and Inox and all. But we don't realize that there is one business which is behind these advertisements. So UFO is basically that company which helps the multiplexes, which helps the exhibitors or the film distributor, film producers to run the advertisement in a proper way. There are other services also which they provide, but advertisement is their main forte, and that is where they make most of their revenues. They have been making most of their revenues in the past. Of course, post-COVID, there has been a decline, right? So now let's come to how this company came to our radar. So some of you might be familiar with this template because we have been using it for last 2-3 Mission Smile webinars. We try to put it into this framework. What are the long-term mega trend or theme under which it falls under? What are the mental models which we can use or understand from this business? And some number crunching and business related points which makes this business unique to look at, right? So I'll start with the mega trend or the long-term theme. So I'll not go deep into it because it is self-explanatory. We all understand that India is on a threshold where we have crossed the minimum. We have crossed the level where the discretionary consumption of the people of country is going up, and we are seeing that and witnessing that in multiple areas of our society. Like we have seen in premium goods, we are seeing in luxury goods, we are seeing that in all kinds of, maybe something related to travel where it is showing up. And same thing is also available in case of entertainment, right? So as you can see, India's box office collections reached an all-time high of 12,000 plus crores in 2023. That is an all-time high, right? So during the COVID time, there was a big question mark on this multiplex model, where people thought that after the OTT coming in, why will you go to cinema halls? Why? What is the need to go to cinema hall when you can conveniently watch any movie of your choice at the click of a button in your mobile at any time when you want, right? That was the main question which everybody was asking. But here we are. We have seen once the COVID was uh, once the COVID was behind us, slowly and steadily people came back to cinema halls, and many people think that cinema hall or going to a multiplex is only about watching movie. We forget that most Indians even today, they look at going to a cinema hall as an experience where it is more like an outing with the family. It is not just about watching a movie. If that would have been the case, why would people, why are so many, so like when I'm saying India's box office collection reaching an all-time high, it would not happen, right? So this psyche of Indian consumer we should understand, right? So multiplexes have survived and thrived the OTT world, at least till now. We don't know what will happen 5 years, 10 years down the line. But one thing is for sure, uh, as of today, there are millions of Indians going to cinema halls every year, right? Now, the third point is the emergence of in-cinema ad spends. I'll give you a very personal example. What is the main crux of advertisement in cinema halls, which was not earlier possible? So, pre-digital era, in that, if you recall, some of you might recall this, all the advertisements were pre-recorded and it was more of a slide show where a slide would run and you cannot make any changes. And because it was a physical thing, uh, say for example, a company based in Bangalore cannot show that in Gujarat, right? But those things are gone now. And today, the main advantage of in-cinema ad is that in one particular cinema hall where you have the target audience, as a company, you think that you have a target audience going into that hall, you can show that ad and not show in other areas where the target audience is not there. And I'll give you a very important example. So I stay in Bangalore generally. So and my wife is a cinema buff, so she always find a way to take me to a cinema hall every month at least once. So we generally go to cinema regularly. In Bangalore, I've never seen any ads of Awas financiers, because probably the people over here are not the target customers of Awas. Last month, when I was in Gujarat, Kutch, where my parents stay, I happened to went to a cinema hall there. There I saw an ad of Awas Financiers, and it immediately struck that it makes sense for a company like Awas Financiers to show that ad in a place like Gandhidham, where the target audience is suited for their loans, right? Because most of their loans are less than 15 lakh rupees ticket size, right? You don't have that kind of option in a place like Bangalore, because of course, in Bangalore, if you want to take a property, you will have to have a higher amount of loan, right? So this is just one example to give you some idea as to how in cinema ad is so important, and what is the biggest advantage for people who are advertising in this, because you get a captive audience. In case of TV or radio channel or anything else, you have the option to switch. You have the option to go away. But over here, you don't have any other option but to watch it, right? So that is the biggest advantage of showing in cinema ads. Now add to this the political campaigns. If the government of India wants to run the ad, like the cigarette ad which we were talking about, that is an ad which is run by government of India, right? So there are so many, and now in 2024, the election is going to come. And if you look at if you track the company, if you see the last quarter's results and con call, you will see that the government-based ad spend, which was not working for last 2-3 years, has suddenly started going up because of the elections coming. Okay, so these are the major themes, long-term themes, which work well with the company. Now, now when we talk about mental models, so we all know that the best way to play the Indian film industry is to look for PVR Inox. But PVR Inox is a far bigger company which is being owned by large institutions, which is being tracked and followed by all the biggies in the investing world. So probably your edge over there, or the kind of returns. However, we still, even though we don't hold the stock, we see that the current scenario is good for PBR Inox as well. But probably the alpha could be made far higher in case of a company like UFO Movies, because of the size of the business. It's only a 600 crore market cap company, and it's a very good proxy. Like we all know how Atulji says, ancillary ka ancillary, right? So cinema is an ancillary to discretionary spending. And ancillary ka ancillary means the cinema ka ancillary will become UFO Movies, which is basically this. So this is the perfect ancillary ka ancillary which we can think of, right? Second mental model is, which is a very powerful mental model, mean reversion play. We are seeing the mean reversion play going on in all the capital goods, PSUs, economy facing industry in the last 2-3 years, right? Because they had a very bad time in the last 10 years and pre-COVID, and post-COVID in the last 2-3 years, they are seeing mean reversion in a big way, right? Same thing is happening in this company and this industry as well. Pre-COVID, we'll show the numbers in the subsequent slide. Pre-COVID, it was a wonderful time for film industry, and year on year, the advertisement spends were also increasing. But post-COVID, it completely collapsed. And now it is coming up, right? So what will happen in case of a mean reversion play over here? You will have more revenue. The main chunk of the revenue was missing in the last 2 years, 3 years. It has started coming up now. So once that revenue will come, you will see the margins getting better. And when advertisement revenue goes up, their working capital cycle will also improve, because over here, very little working capital is tied up. And we'll show in the subsequent slide how capital efficient and FCF generating this business has been in the past. So this can lead to a a steady increase in the ROE and also in the FCF, right? Because past clearly shows you that this has been a wonderful business when the advertisement revenue has been steadily going up, right? And we are again back to that level where we are seeing that if you look at FY23 results and last 2 quarters of FY24, you will see that consistently the ad revenues are increasing. And one good part is that this company is available, even though it is the dominant player with very little competition. Of course, there are competition, but very little in terms of no other player is of their size and are in pan-India basis compared to what UFO is doing, right? And in spite of that, it is available at a very reasonable valuation. So like if you take FY19's normalized earnings, now it is debatable, people. You may ask whether FY19 earning was peak earnings or normalized earnings. We'll discuss that in the Q&A session. But if you take that earnings, assuming that the ad revenues come to its normalized level, the valuation today is offering you, so company is available at around 6 times normalized earnings. And our estimate says that in the next 2 to maximum 3 years, there is a high chance that the company will achieve that normalized earnings. So today the stock is available at a very reasonable valuation, even though stock price wise, you would have seen the stock doubling and probably available at 52-week high today. But that is not how you look at businesses, right? You look at the valuation. it is trading at far cheaper valuation compared to PVR and INOX. Of course, it deserves a certain discount compared to PVR, but the discount is far high at the current stage. It has, as I said at the start, it has raised 600 crore in OFS in 2015, and the current market cap is less than 600 crore. Okay. Now, in terms of the business and the numbers, you can see that it is the number one leading company in cinema advertisement plus digital cinema. Revenue, as we have discussed already, fell off the cliff, specifically the advertisement revenue, and it is showing signs of recovery in the last 2 quarters. Election spending is already has already shown in the last quarter. You can see the con calls as well, where the management has said that and even the presentation also shows that the government-based spending has started increasing. So, as we discussed, high top line growth, improving operating margin, which will increase the ROE, right? And all of us who are present here, we all understand that, see, most of the returns are made when a company is moving from a low ROE to a high ROE. Once it achieves a high ROE, say 25-30%, probably most of the returns have already been made. Incremental returns will be based on higher growth which the company can achieve, right? So this is the time when probably we should look at a business like this and deep dive and see whether this is a business which we should invest in or not. Another point is a new entrant has not been able to capture meaningful market share. So there is a company called UVT, which has a new technology or D2T. We'll explain those things in the subsequent slide. They have been trying to do this for last 10 years now, but as of now, the market share of UFO has been more or less intact. So that also gives us some confidence that it is not an easy task for a new entrant to disrupt it. However, the risk still stays. We are not trying to say that there is no disruption possible, and we should keep a track on that. But as of now, the tech disruptor has not been able to capture meaningful market share, which again gives us some confidence about the business model of UFO. And in terms of corporate governance, so even if you go back and read their DRHP of 2015, you will see in the risk column, you will see cases where the auditor had qualified the report because there was some cash mismanagement by employees. Then there were times where some other corporate governance hassles was there. There were high litigation which was happening, a big amount of litigation which was happening for the company, also against the company and also against the promoters. So all those corporate governance issues were there in the 2012 to 2015 period. But post the listing, what we have seen is that the corporate governance is getting better and better as the time has progressed. Okay, so this in nutshell gives you an idea as to how UFO Moviez came to our radar. Now, over here you can see the numbers. So pre-COVID numbers, you can see 500 crore sales was there. Suddenly, because of COVID, the numbers dropped in FY21. And even in FY23, it was just up to 396. It was not completely recovered because the ad spends are still not back to the FY19 level. Okay. And you can see even in the operating margin, at one time it was trading, the operating margin was very stable around the 30% mark. And today it is, so in FY21 and FY22, they were at loss. And even in FY23, it is just 8%. So there is a huge room to improve the margin from 8%. Even if it doesn't go to 30%, if it goes to 20%, that will lead to a lot of increase in EPS, increase in ROE, improving the FCF generation of the company, and hence the re-rating can happen in the stock. right? And over here also you can see when you look at the depreciation and interest cost, you can see that interest cost at one point of time went up as high as 20, and it has slowly and steadily coming down. Same with depreciation. Uh, Earlier it was more capex heavy, and now slowly there is more digitalization, and capex requirement is not that high in this business. Over here you can see about the share equity dilution. So in FY, when it got listed, they didn't require any money. But at the COVID time, when there was there was complete uncertainty as to when the demand scenario will improve, when the advertisement revenue will come back. Even the management had no idea. At that point of time, they did a dilution. I'm forgetting the name of the institution, and we have covered that in the subsequent slide. We'll see that. And the equity was raised at Shivam, if I'm not wrong, around 100 rupees, right? And right now,
Yes, yes.
And right now it is at 150.
And it was Napian Capital.
Yeah, Napian Capital, right. So also one good thing, generally you would want business to not dilute equity, right? But you will see so many cases where if the company is going through a temporary problem and is in need of capital, if it is getting capital from an institutional investor at a reasonable valuation, that is a positive sign for the company, because there is a marquee investor who is willing to bet on the company at that time. And that is one point. And the second point is they also get that important funds at the time of uncertainty, right? Because even in FY22, it was not clear whether FY23 or FY24 will see the reversal of the ad revenue business, which has now started to kick in. Now, the most important part is the cash flow generation. You can see over here, the cash flow from operation during FY14 to FY19 was pretty good. And only after COVID, it started going down. Because again, I'll just repeat, the ad business generates most of the cash flows for them. And that is why it has gone down. Even if you dissect the cash flows and look at the cash flow to PAT conversion, so you can see over here, pre-COVID, it was a very efficient business where you can see how much of PAT was converted to cash flows. Okay. So as I said at the start, you can see this was a business which was generating somewhere between 15 to 20% ROE. Right now it is at almost 0% ROE. So there is a high chance that we will, in the next 2 years, we'll see somewhere between 0 to 20% of ROE. I'm not saying we'll reach 20% immediately. Even if the company comes from 0% to say 10% or 12%, even that will lead to a very good re-rating possibility for the company, right? I think from here, Shivam, you can take. I'll just stop. I'll just stop sharing. Yeah, you can share your screen. That would be better.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah. So in the meantime, if anybody has any question, I'll just check the chat box. Company raised 600 crore in, but in balance sheet, it is not showing much increase in equity capital reserves. So, Mr. Pandu, as I said at the start, that 600 crore was raised in the sense that it was completely OFS, offer for sale. So the money went to the promoters only. Nothing came into the company's books, and that is why you don't see anything in the balance sheet. Otherwise, you would have seen that. So at the time of the IPO, the company was so confident about the possibility of the business, the kind of cash flow they were generating. They didn't need any funds for the business. In fact, they used the opportunity to cash in and dilute their shares. right? Harshit says, I'm also in Bangalore and keep going to movies. You must be, there is significant notable difference in crowd inflow due to good movies and amount of money being spent on food and beverage. Yes, Harshit. So that's the point. So why our main larger point is this, that it is not about what kind of movies you are watching or whether good quality movies are coming or not. Of course, if there are good quality movies are coming, there will be more turnout. But even if there is average quality of movie, people will still go to movie hall because that is a kind of uh, opportunity people like us look for while going out of home. Next question is from Rajiv. Current contribution of rural business in revenue and how do you see? Yeah, that's a very good question, Rajiv. So yes, right now the rural contribution is almost negligible, but I think Shivam will cover that point regarding caravan, which they have started, I think in FY 14 or 15. As of now, it is not generating enough revenue, but going forward, one can expect the contribution to go up. However, still, most of the revenue will come from at the moment, most of the revenue will come from the urban areas. But from a longer term perspective, you are bang on. Rural is a big area for them. Isn't PVR Inox ad revenue larger than UFO? Yes, they are larger than because the revenue is their model is a revenue sharing model, right? So they get a smaller share compared to PVR and Inox. But as we'll progress the presentation, you will understand the role a company like UFO plays, and then you will understand why their ad business is having is a business which holds a lot of value not only for them but also for the whole ecosystem.
And also, just to add on, Ankit bhai,
Yeah.
so uh, UFO movies is mainly into small screens. So in terms of number of screens, if you look at it, UFO covers about 4,000 screens, uh, wherein like they have a partnership with exhibitors to advertise, whereas PVR is about 1,700, 1,800. But the difference here comes from the fact that the average advertisement minute per screen for UFO is about 3.5 to 4.5 minutes, whereas for PVR it is about 20 to 25 minutes. So in terms of the covering the smaller screens across India, which is like still the dominant way in which uh, movies are shown in the theaters, in that number of screens, UFO is a leading player. But yes, you are right that ad spends from PVR are much higher.
Yes,
Hello.
Shivam, we can continue.
Yeah. So, Ankit bhai, am I audible? Like the voice is clear now?
Yeah, yeah, perfect, perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, hello everyone. I think Ankit bhai has explained why we found UFO very interesting pretty convincingly. Now, moving on, these are like the outline of the presentation, wherein I will tell you about the box office industry, about UFO, the business, and like the mental models and the key growth drivers, along with the competition, valuation, and risks. Right. So let's talk about the Indian box office industry. Uh, 2020 has been the black swan event in like in everyone's lives. Uh, but I think that has that has significantly disrupted the cinema screens and multiplexes. As you can see from the uh, graph, the Indian gross box office collections suddenly dropped from about 11,000 crores to 2,000 crores in 2020 when COVID hit. But right from 2021 to 2022, we can see a very quick recovery in terms of just being close to the 2019 levels. And like recently, only 5 days back, the latest numbers have come, wherein like India's box office collections have crossed 12,000 crores. So that is like now we are officially surpassed 2019 levels. So slowly, I wouldn't say slowly, but quickly we have recovered from the lows of COVID. And more and more movies, more and more footfalls can be seen from 2021 to 2022 period. So moving on, uh, this is like the dashboard wherein like you can see all the statistics which are like relevant for the Indian cinema industry. So still with about 10,000 odd screens around the country, uh, we are very much, we compared like very low as compared to uh, America, China, and also like the average. We are still having seven number of screens per million population as of 2022. Uh, and I also like briefly spoke about how the multiplexes as trailing single screen cinemas in India with about 42% multiplex and 48%, 58% still being single screen. Coming down to the number of screens, pre-COVID and like after the recovery, we are almost about the same level, but I think there has been a drop of about 18%. In 2019, we had about 96 and 9527 screens, which came down to 9305. As the single screens and the multiplexes reeled from the effects of lockdown, a lot of them had to shut down. So we could see the impact that COVID played. And also, I think we will all agree that the craze about movie is like at a different level when it comes to South as compared to the North, right? But that can be also seen from the like split between single screens and multiplex in India. Majority of the screens in South are single screens as compared to multiplex. 61% of the screens in South are single screens, and about 25%, as you can see, is multiplex. Uh, and then we already spoke about how the box office has like recovered just after COVID in 2022, wherein like the box office collections are like 1.3 billion in 2019, and the same level we can be seen in 2022. Now, uh, especially when we talk about UFO, so we need to understand that uh, its ad revenues are very much linked to how the industry as a whole is performing, because the marketers would like to have maximum footfalls, maximum presence in the multiplex for the advertisements to make any impact, right? So the recovery of the domestic footfalls that we are seeing right from 2022 to 21 and then right to 2022 has been like really quick. We are not there at that level, but I think as of like recently only, that footfall details of 2023 had come, wherein like we are about 94.3 crores as compared to 103 crores in 2019. So we are almost there, uh, and that would like prove well for the advertising industry when it comes to the in cinema part of the business. So talking about in cinema advertising, uh, what the management has like written in their annual report of 2023 is that in the next 2 years, it is expected to grow at about 24% CAGR. It was 450 crores in FY20. It is expected to reach about 900 crores, which is like way above the pre-COVID levels of 800 crores in 2019. So there is a huge headroom wherein like UFO can benefit from increased advertisement spends as far as the in cinema advertising is concerned. So now let's come down to UFO Movies, which is like India's largest digital cinema distribution network and in cinema advertising platform by the number of screens. One of the I've already spoken about it, but like one of the attendees asked that PVR uh, like commands like higher in terms of the in cinema advertisement as compared to UFO. That is because like the advertisement uh, per minute, like the amount that the theaters or UFO charges for showing the advertisement, that is like way less as compared to PVR and INOX. But in terms of the screen, UFO is the largest. So here is UFO at a glance. Uh, this is like November quarter two FY24 presentation, when they've mentioned that they have about association with 3,303 screens. But recently, in one of the press release, they have had a partnership with TSR Group based in South, wherein they have had a partnership wherein 500 cinemas in the South are associated now with UFO, which now takes their number to 3,808 screens as far as advertisement is concerned. They have a pan-India presence with 1,220 cities and towns covered. Uh, Talking about delivering movies digitally, they have delivered more than 1,000 movies in the first half of FY24. And given the number of screens that they have a power to impact about 1.7 billion viewers annually. So we can see how strong the business is. Uh, Now we are concentrating on advertisement spends, but uh, UFO also provides digital cinema distribution services uh, and the rental sale of equipment. We'll cover all these services in detail later on. So this is clearly a proxy to India's film industry, wherein UFO has multiple revenue streams to, in a way, positively grow in the time to come. We spoke about a close correlation with, PVR and like as a whole, the Indian film industry. So this is this report, we took it from one of the brokerage reports of Ventura, uh, wherein we can see how the trajectory of P ratio of UFO movies and Inox are closely following the same trajectory. However, they are like the number would be different, but the trajectory is almost the same. So in the time to come, we can see there's a strong correlation with how PVR and Inox are performing, or as a whole, the Indian cinema is performing. Talking about the value chain and the revenue streams that UFO movies caters to, I think it has presence across the value chain, uh, right from producer and distributors to exhibitors, audience, and advertisers. When we talk about the producers and distributors, so uh, I would like to ask the audience if anybody here knows how, in the earlier part, films were being transferred from the producers to the exhibitors. I think I'm pretty sure you would be aware that there were some, uh, analog celluloid reels that were there. So anybody can tell with what was the procedure earlier on, before digitization came into effect?
You can probably raise your hand. Okay, Avdut, I'll just unmute you. Yeah, Avdut, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I've been raising hand not for this question, but that's not an issue. So earlier there used to be reels and they used to be transferred. So if you consider a small city, then two or three exhibitors or the theater owners will buy a print or a reel and they will manage the shows. The earlier I would put the show of 12 to 3, which was used to call matinee show or the
Correct.
morning show, and I will pass it on to somebody else, other theater guys. So that will distribute their money what they have to put in. So and there used to be delays if there is a long route or it takes time to transfer the reels also. Then there could be delays at other theater. That used to happen earlier. So and there were operators at the end. We would have seen it in multiple movies that the operator, which will the film will keep on passing and they have to roll that film and accordingly on the screen the pictures will keep on moving and there could be disturbances in between also if electricity goes off and that kind of stuff used to happen. We can see earlier part the movie starting from the 5 minutes earlier if the electricity goes off and that kind of stuff keep used to happen, if I
Correct.
remember correct.
No, absolutely. You are bang on. And
Yeah, I'll just put one point. Avdut bhai, you're bang on what you said, and I think Mr. Pramod also said that in the chat box. So I'll just give one very good example that one reason for why we see something like 200 crore box office collection or 500 crore or even now 1000 crores. I think one big reason for that is the number of screens they get to deliver their movies at one point of time is because of this technology which UFO uses. Earlier, because of what you said, Avdut bhai, because of the physical thing, there was a limit to what you can, and it was a very expensive process. You had to एक बार आप जब प्रिंट निकाल लेंगे उसके बाद वापस से निकालने के लिए उसमें टाइम भी लगता था और फिर उसको कुरियर भी करना पड़ता था अगर इफ यू आर सेंडिंग इट टू सम फार अवे प्लेसेस
कुरियर से तो करते ही नहीं थे अंकित भाई, कुरियर से करते तो बीच में चोरी हो जाते थे प्रिंट और उसका डुप्लीकेट बन के छोटे छोटे थिएटर्स में लेके
हाँ नहीं वो पहले हुआ है चोरी होने के बाद वो
हाँ
कुरियर बना बंद हो गया फिर वो आदमी को भेज के करवाना पड़ता था
हाँ हाँ।
एग्जैक्टली
तो इट वाज वेरी टीडियस प्रोजेक्ट। एक कुछ आई थिंक अमेजोन प्राइम पे एक सीरियल आया था, आई डोंट रिकॉल द नेम, रिसेंटली आया था, अपरिजित, जिसमें ये आयुष्मान खुराना का भाई है, उसमें उस वो लीड रोल में था। उसमें सब दिखाया हुआ है कि कैसे ट्रांसफर होते थे, क्या होते थे। इफ यू आर इंटरेस्टेड, वो सब है उसमें।
Okay, okay, we'll see that. So
अ,
main point ये है कि that is where UFO has a very important value proposition, right? Avdut bhai, did you have any other question? We can, since you are unmuted, you can ask if you want.
No, just one point. The revenue, how they get it, I think you would have covered in the subsequent slides. Like here you have mentioned they are present across value chain. So if advertising is the dominant, like 80 to 90% revenue comes from advertising, and other part like digitization, and so this is broadcaster, right? UFO is broadcaster in a sense, correct?
yeah, correct.
So
No, like when we talk about ad revenue being dominant, but अगर आप recent numbers देखेंगे, so it is pretty much evenly distributed between ad revenue, distributors, revenue from distributors, or revenue from exhibitors. So what we see is that there is a huge ceiling when it comes to ad revenue going up back to the 2019 levels.
correct.
वो अभी तक नहीं आया है.
I agree, but for that, what has to happen is you have to get distribution or the exhibition of the hit films, right?
Absolutely.
Now, PVR is the dominant player, so he can milk the producer. If they want to reach to the people, multiplexes, metro cities, PVR is the dominant player. They have no choice but to go to PVR, right? If they
Correct.
want to release big pictures, say whatever the today the fighter and that crap has whatever has released, तो उनको पहुंचना है तो they have to go to PVR. So he
Yes.
will get dominant share of the hit films, or and these people, they have to look for small movies which can potentially, say Rajkumar Rao movies, which can they matlab we find them as a value stocks and they can become a growth stock. That kind of movies they have to find out, these people. So they're getting ad revenue, is it linked to this value chain, and how do you look into it? And more dominantly, if they're so they do, in a sense, what I want to say is they don't have a pricing power. Okay, first, I could be wrong, you can elaborate on that. And second, if they are more focused on the small screen, then their revenue stream would come from dominantly from the south, as you have explained in the earlier slide. And in south also, star movies get much more audience than the, like there are multiple stars, Rajnikant, Vijay and Surya and whatnot. So they will get distribution over there. That I agree. And there is a crowd going to the single screen multiple times they are visiting. But what if PVR starts dominating that market also, and they get larger movies distribution, and small distribution to these companies becomes a problem over the period. So this pipeline, this value chain, we have to look into, and I hope we would have covered it. That's what I'm looking for.
Yes. No, your questions are absolutely valid. So when we talk about the value chain, I think that is where these people get some sort of a pricing power. See, having associations with 4,000 odd screens across India, out of like 10,000 total screens, I think these guys must be having strong network connections, correct? So, and they know that they cannot compete directly with PVR given the like high ad time that those guys get. Uh, Given that, right, as you rightly mentioned, that वो लोग pressure tech, like they can demand from the distributors and the producers. Wherein like these guys, they understand that even the single screen, the number of single screens in India are pretty high right now. So moving forward, there is surely a risk when it comes to PVR also tapping that south market and the share of single screens getting down as compared to the multiplexes. So that risk is definitely there. But them having to, so what they do is like they uh, transmit the movie via satellites. So they use a platform known as UFO M4. Now
Correct.
this system enables them to completely do away with the whatever was happening, like wherein physical films were used, physical reels were used to broadcast the movies. Now what they do is like wo physical reels mein it used to cost around 80,000 like per theater per screen. So what has happened is like with this particular technology that these guys have, uh, especially for the single screen cinemas, what has happened is, so they have had their equipment in each of these single screen 4,000 odd screens. This helps them to also negotiate to have a ad agreement wherein they can also bring in advertisers to broadcast their ads in the cinemas. So with this partnership of because at the end of the day, they are not comparing in terms of the minutes, but they are comparing it competing with pure in terms of uh, the number of screens that they might be having. So
Agreed.
so
Agreed.
that is
So my point is, you have to fetch people into the say theaters, right?
right.
Whatever it is. So now let's look at this year, okay? 2024. So Hollywood releases would be much lesser this year because all the writers were on strike last year. So it has not converted into movies, it has not been converted into production, it has not been converted into releases. This is the hypothesis. I could be wrong. They can
Correct.
speed it up. Okay. So my basic point is, when we say advertisement revenue is going to go up, the first question we have to ask is how. For that, see, I'm not doubting your thesis, but I want to just have a streamlining it. When we say it is going to go up, they have to bring in more people, they have to bring in hits, okay, or the stars, then they will get higher revenue. So simply put, if I get IPL rights, if I get World Cup rights, I will get advertisers, right?
Right.
No, Abdul bhai, I'll just chip in here. So if you see in the slide also, in the advertisement revenue, there are three, four
Corporate and
things
government.
which are there: corporate, hyper-local, government, plus PSU. So right now the advertisement is down because all these four categories, they didn't have earlier at the time of COVID, they didn't have the capacity to invest. And now in the last 2 years also, they were not willing to invest, even though they had the capacity. Now slowly that is coming back. So corporate is now doing pretty well. Government has also started in the last 1 or 2 quarters. So that is giving us the confidence that that thing has begun. It is not about getting anything new like what you are
Correct.
saying regarding any rights. It is more about the four channels which they already had, where they didn't have. Number one was the capacity and the number two was willingness. So अभी capacity तो आ गई है सब में, because government is doing well, PSUs have money, hyper local की भी धीरे धीरे after COVID things are getting stabilized, and corporate is anyways doing well. So now it is more about the willingness of these four categories to invest, and that is where I think, or we think at Smart Sync Services, is that this is already showing a trend where it is going up, and it has the potential to go up in that level.
Yeah,
I
and
hope
just to add, the last 2 years maybe, like majority of the ad revenues are coming from corporate. Government is not at all spending. So I mean, this is the time what we see is like with elections coming in. So ये अभी तक का जितना भी इनका ad revenue है, that is mainly from the corporate and hyper locals. but government is yet to chip in. So once that will come in, which I think with elections and everything approaching, uh, there are like pretty high chance that they will also chip in with that ad revenue. So we see that like, instead of like bringing new footfalls, new screens and everything, uh, उनका पहले का जो which they had lost uh, after COVID. As Ankit Bhai said, like we are playing the mean reversion game. Wherein like earlier they were doing about 150 crores jitna from ad revenue. So currently they are doing like not even half of that. So
So you feel that irrespective of these movies and stuff, corporates will flow in and they will start doing advertisements.
No, not
It cannot happen without the movies. See, movies have to come to the normal. So what we are seeing, see, even in 2023, what you have seen is that there is a good amount of movies which has been made, be it Hollywood movies, be it South movies, or be it the mainstream Bollywood
Correct.
movies, right?
Correct.
You need those kind of environment. अगर वो environment ही नहीं रहेगा तो why will corporate or government will spend? It is not like you don't need that.
और
right?
अभी इसमें हुआ भी क्या था कि if you would have noticed a lot of movies tanked. आप कोई भी मूवी ले लो बीच में because of the quality of content, a lot of movies tanked. उसकी वजह से भी these advertisers are little apprehensive कि like even if like they are big names, the movies are not performing. So once that also like reins in कि क्या बोलते हैं कि like the quality of the content improves, the scale of the movie improves, so that will also like pick up from the advertisers as well.
In fact, in one of the interviews, the management was also saying this interesting point. This was in 2021 or maybe 22, where they said that even if the movie is good, the movie production company doesn't have that much budget for promotion. And because they have done less promotion, even though the movie quality is good, but not many people have come to the to hall to visit
footfall doesn't
footfall is not that much.
converting
And because of
into
that, the corporate are not giving loosening their purse. They think that okay, let's wait for more footfalls to come and then
Correct.
start.
Correct. So we have to keep an eye on pipeline of all the companies.
Exactly. Pipeline of this footfalls also we have to see.
Monitor.
OTT is still a risk. We cannot say that OTT is not a risk.
Okay.
Right. That is also something which we have to keep in mind.